of action, the van build series. We're taking our 2018 Dodge Promaster van and turning it into a family camper. Now, if you're a person who's doing this, who's thinking about doing this, you're designing a van, you're dreaming about a van, you're wondering just how you're going to do it, you're going to start from scratch, watch this video, because today, 3 years later, we're taking advantage of a design feature we built in the first or second week of our van build, saving us a lot of time, a lot of money, and really making me smile. So come on along the way, I'll show you what I'm talking about. Now, I've never been in the military, thanks to all those who have served and are serving, but they have a saying about no plan survives first contact with the enemy. And what that means is no matter how well you think about it, how hard you plan it, you don't know what it's going to actually be like until you're on the ground and it's happening. And it's exactly the same thing with the van build. We can dream about it, think about it, research it, spend hours and hours and hours watching YouTube videos, but until you actually build the space and you spend some time on the road, you don't know how it's going to work out for you. And so during the planning time, the planning period is the time when you can do things that'll save you the most time and most money going forward. And the electrical system is one of those things. In my build, the electrical system was the second thing I did. First, we put the soundproofing on the metal, and then I started pulling wires because I wanted the wires in before I started insulating. It seemed like the easiest time to get all the wires through all the little holes and cavities that I wanted to. I had to get them through, and I could get them secured really well, which is what I wanted to do. Now, I knew where my fuse block was going to be, and I knew where I wanted the major things, the major components like the lights and the fans and things, so I could pull wires to there. But then there were also places where I thought, maybe someday I might want to have some power. You may recall one of those places was on the roof. I have no reason to have power on the roof at the time, but if I wanted a power awning or extra lights or maybe an extra camera or something, I pulled two leads up onto the roof and just put them in my combiner box up there, ran the wires back to the fuse panel, so if I ever need the power's there already. I also ran an extra wire to my mirror at the front in case I ever wanted to have an electronic mirror. The wire's there, it's pulled back, it's all juiced up, it's ready to go. You may recall for my the charging port beside the driver's steering wheel, to make things easier and safer for me, I had power pulled up along with a couple of circuits to the control panel behind the driver's seat in the valance, just to have the power there. I also thought, I'm sitting in these back seats, and we wanted to have these two second seats. As you know, this is the second set of second seats. And in the space above, I always thought it would be neat to be able to, or neat or practical to be sitting here. And at night, when we're lounging, or if someone was driving and we were driving and it was nighttime, it'd be neat if someone wanted to sit here and they wanted to read without having all the lights on in the back. So I thought it'd be kind of cool to have a couple of lights up here in the valance, or I thought it might be kind of cool to have a couple of lights up here in the valance. And so I pulled a couple of wires up into this space, not knowing if I'd ever use them or not. It's important to remember too that all of these circuits that I'm talking about don't run all the way back to the fuse panel. These lights are just extensions of the reading lights that we had in the USB ports that we have over top of the bed. And they also feed the little charging space down here. I'll show you that in a minute. This charging space, they all run off the same circuit. This stuff doesn't draw a lot of energy. You don't need to run all individual lines back to the fuse block. Just add things along the way, you know, and you'll be safe and fine. Having this extra power today is wonderful because we did find that we do want these lights, and so I've ordered some lights. I hate to say it, but the only place you can buy these things is on the A place. So I had to bite the bullet and order these from Amazon. Anyway, here we go. Today's the day we're going to put these in. I just have to lay it where I want them and cut the holes and all the rest, but I know the wire's already there, already powered up. I just have to cut the holes, screw them in place, make the wire connections. It'll be done. Should be an easy job. Okay, so I'll show you what I mean. I've had these wires pulled in right from day one, and they're all set to go. They're mirrored off. There's power there now. I just have to figure where I want to put my lights. I'll pull this liner out. Okay, so here we go. I've pulled the backing off, and I pulled off a little bit of insulation as well, just so I could take a look and just see how things were going. And this insulation has stood up really well. There's no evidence of any kind of moisture issues at all, which is good. These are the two wires, and it turns out upon inspection that these two wires also This feed also feeds the 2 ceiling lights. So on this one circuit, there will be the 2 lights, the 2 reading lights I'm going to put in, the 2 ceiling lights in the cabin, and the 2 lights over top of the bed with the USB chargers. There's still lots of capacity in this circuit, and there are LED lights. There's lots of capacity, and it's 1 wire pulled through, lots of juice. That's good. That's good. While I'm here too, I can take a look at my cabinets just to see. This is the, you may recall this. I'll put a link at the end. This is the 5/8 plywood upper and lower cupboards that I built. Everything that I built was 5/8 plywood anchored directly to the frame of the van. Solid as a rock. You could do chin-ups off of these upper cupboards. And then they were just covered with this cedar skin, a 3/8, almost 1/4 inch cedar skin. Very light, very beautiful, but the structure is here. This is where the meat and potatoes is. Looking good, looking really good. You may remember too, I used my Kitamat, the extra little scraps, just to hold the wires in place. That stood up well. I also used it as protection on the cables where it was going through maybe what might be rougher edges. Everything's looking pretty darn good. Now this is where you have to be a little more careful with this style of light. When you do the regular puck lights in the ceiling, all you have to do is just drill a hole the correct diameter and the light fits right into it. But these lights, because of the switch mechanism, are a little bit different. You got to be careful. If you were to drill one hole that was large enough to accommodate everything, when you turn the fixture 90 degrees, you'll see you almost don't have, you might not have anything to screw into. It's hard to know. You might just be screwing into air, which isn't very good. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to drill one hole to accommodate the light fixture itself, and then make an elongation at the end of it to accommodate the switch housing. Good. That's it. Now, my dust collection thing here is going to fall out because I was sitting on the blanket over there. Okay, now, I'm going to use a hacksaw blade just to try and square up the front of this hole for the switch. It won't take much at all. Now, one thing I want to remind you of is when you're wiring your van, you're going to use 2 wires on every fixture. There's at least 2 wires. One brings power from the fuse block out to the fixture, the plug or the light, whatever it might be. And then one wire takes the power back from that light back to the fuse panel to complete the circuit. It has to be that way or it won't work. So in a vehicle, it's always the red wire that carries the power out. It's the hot wire. The return wire is the black wire that takes the power back from the fixture back to the panel. That's the way it works. Now, sometimes, if you're starting from scratch, you'll buy a spool of red and a spool of black. You can buy them together, red and black. But today, I just needed 2 or 3 feet. I didn't want to go out and buy a whole spool, 25 feet of each wire, just to get a couple of feet of each. So I just bought red. And then what I did was, on the red wires that I'm going to be using as black wires, I ran a little bit of black electrical tape around the end, a couple of inches from the end of each wire, so that when I'm putting it together or somewhere down the road, I'll know which is the black wire and which is the red wire, which is carrying the power out and which is carrying the power back. I hope you can see this okay. This is fantastic. I'm going to turn these off. I want to show you what it's like inside. Now, here. I've got the back put back in again, which is great. And here's the hole the 2 wires came out of earlier. I split those wires, made connections with it, which are now behind the backs here. And I ran 1 wire out to this light and 1 wire out to this light through a little hole I drilled in the bottom. I'll put a false bottom in this. No one's ever going to see it. It'll look great. But here's what I wanted to point out to you too. We talked earlier about the red wire, black wire business. This is the red wire that carries the power in the van to the light fixture, and the connection has the heat shrink on it, which is great, keeps the moisture out. That's wonderful. And this is the black wire. Even though it looks red, I know it's the black wire because when I was running them, I ran a little piece of black electrical tape along just close to the end of the wire on each end, so I know which is which. And again, it's got the heat tape on it. The thing that I want to remind you of, though, more importantly, is aftermarket lights. I don't know why they do it, but they're wired like a household light. And in a household light, the black wire is the wire that has the power in it, and the white wire is the return wire, or they call it the neutral, that goes back to the panel to complete the circuit. So when you're connecting your van lights to the your van wires to the aftermarket lights, the power wire from the van connects to the black wire from the light, which seems backwards, but I think they do this just so that people like you and me have to hire someone to do it for us. But it's not that hard. You put the power wire from the van to the black wire of the light, and then the return wire, or the white wire from the light, to the black wire of the van. It all works fine. It's perfect. It's just a matter of just keeping things straight. I don't know why they do that. Then you're golden. You do it right, there's light. Wow, this is going to change our van life experience so much for the better. It's going to open up this whole lounge and create a space for us in the evenings when we can be comfortable, relax, and give us lots of space to do things. It'll just be wonderful. Hope you found it useful. Give us a like, a share, and a subscribe. And watch these other videos I'm going to link to here. Wiring, the rough-in, how to make connections, how to run your circuits, how to plan it. Plan it early so that when you get there and you want to make some changes, it's easy to do. Hope you come back again.